John William Waterhouse's The Lady of Shalott is a masterpiece in art history. The enraptured look of the young woman in a boat, adorned by beautiful long hair and finely embroidered tapestry, hypnotizes the viewer. Immersed in a melancholic autumnal water landscape, with tangled reeds in the foreground and overgrown trees in the background, this painting is a unique work of art and one of my absolute favorite paintings. Therefore, when my two biggest collectors asked me to paint my own interpretation of this painting, I was absolutely thrilled, but also a bit scared of this daunting task. With such a masterful reference, it's incredibly difficult to create your own interpretation and capture at least a little bit of the original's magic. Waterhouse took his inspiration from the great Victorian painters, such as Sir Lawrence Alma-Tadema or Edward Burne-Jones, and developed his own style from it, in which classicism, romanticism, fantasy and reality are interwoven. Personally, I feel very connected to the imagery of this painter, since I also play with elements of realism, fantasy or even surrealism in my art. Nevertheless, I'm still far away from the excellence of these old masters, and therefore intend to keep getting better with each painting, so I had to give this project my absolute best. Since this is a commission, it was essential for me to include the preferences and ideas of my collectors in this piece. My art collectors are from Newfoundland and have a special connection to boats. Having been to Norway for the first time myself recently, I confess I now also share their passion for boats. I gained more respect for the forces of nature and their unpredictability, which brought me even closer to the emotional side of this painting. Therefore, the first difficulty for me was finding the right boat. It took several days for me to find a reference for a handsome boat, and after many Google searches, I finally decided to use Dolly and Midjourney instead, and ended up creating hundreds of different pictures with women on boats. My collector said, I think we accidentally broke Leobar after I sent them all 152 pictures via Facebook Messenger. We also wanted to capture the original Arthurian legend in the painting, like in Waterhouse's artwork. The 19th century ballad is about the Lady of Shalott, who, trapped in a tower by a spell, weaves images she sees in a magic mirror into an endless tapestry, but cannot look out of the window. One day, she sees the knight Lancelot in the mirror and falls in love, breaking the curse by looking out of the window. She embarks on a journey to find Lancelot, but her life energy fades as she travels. While she dies, she sings a final song as the boat drifts to Camelot. At Arthur's court, everyone is struck by her great beauty, which they had never seen before. The tale is a reminder of the consequences of breaking the rules and the power of forbidden love. I loved this beautiful story, and although I cannot claim possessing such a beauty, I still ended up portraying myself in this painting. To have perfect control over lighting, pose and clothing, I decided to model myself and potentially replace the face with someone else's. But when I reviewed the photos, I thought with a little Photoshop here and there and removing some thick angles, the photos were actually quite good, so I turned the painting into a self-portrait. Staying true to the story, I hold a little mirror in my hand, while having the embroidered tapestry being represented in the form of modern tattoos. But there is a third element in this painting that is neither in Waterhouse's original nor in the story. Can you spot it? Of course, it's Gustav Klimt's decor patterns and shapes that I wanted to bring into my painting, no matter how. Because sometimes I want my cake and eat it too, and Klimt had to be included somehow. To make it all work, I limited the golden patterns within rounded shapes, which almost look like walls that the boat is floating through. Furthermore, I wanted to depict a swamp instead of a pond, so I included carnivorous plants, such as pitcher plants and Venus flytraps in the composition to represent this different atmosphere. Bringing all these elements together into a coherent composition was a real challenge, and the painting still had to be painted after all. And as you could see in the video so far, I worked my way from the background level to the frontmost level, painting one element after the other. Due to their quick drying times, the acrylic paint I used allowed me to work on the next levels and elements as soon as I finished the previous ones. Only the face and hair I chose to paint with oils because I can do fine transitions of skin and hair best with these. Painting all these Venus flytraps took me so long. Each of these flowers has little spikes and it just felt like an eternity to complete all of them. And some elements like the moon look so simple, yet getting its shape right and the characteristic pattern was so difficult and I struggled so much. In addition, it's somewhat challenging to achieve even gradients and blendings with acrylics, so I recently started to use a water spray bottle, which I find easier to work with than using an acrylic retarding agent, which makes the paint annoyingly sticky. However, it was still so difficult and I had to paint over the background multiple times until it looked somewhat even, and then I didn't dare to touch it ever again. With a blue Copic marker that I especially bought for this occasion, I drew in the tattoos. The marker allowed me to draw exact and fine lines, and it worked like a charm. Overall, it took me a few weeks painting on and off to finally complete this 120 by 83 cm large artwork. And this is how the finished painting looks like. And to be honest, I'm quite happy with the result. It's an amalgamation of different styles and ideas, yet it's true to my own style. What do you think? If you are now inspired by the old masters yourself and also want to paint an interpretation or recreation of a painting, join me on Patreon and make art together with me, inspired by masters like Van Gogh, Gustav Klimt or Alphonse Mucha. But if that sounds a bit overwhelming to you, you can instead follow my beginner-friendly step-by-step tutorials and learn basic techniques. With over 200 videos and tutorials, there is something for everyone. Just follow the link in the video description and join me on Patreon. I hope you enjoyed this video. All that I have to do now is pack and ship this huge painting. Now, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment and a like, and I see you in my next video. Bye bye!